My husband told me our son's disability was ruining his life, and he couldn't look at him anymore. Now he's destroyed because he refuses physical therapy and told the doctors his dad wished he'd died in the accident. Ben was born perfect. That's what my husband Nolan said the moment they put him in his arms. 10 fingers, 10 toes, and Nolan's eyes. He was walking at 9 months, running at 11. By the time he was 5, Nolan had him in football. He coached his teams from elementary school through middle school. They had this routine where they'd watch game footage together every Sunday. Nolan breaking down plays, Ben absorbing everything like a sponge. He made varsity as a freshman. Nolan cried when they announced it. We have 3 other kids, but Ben was Nolan's. Everyone could see it. He wore Ben's jersey number on his coaching shirts. When people asked about his kids, he'd talk about Ben's 40-yard dash time before he mentioned anyone else's name. The accident happened 4 months ago. A truck ran a red light. Ben's back was broken in 2 places. The doctor said he was permanently paralyzed from the waist down. Nolan held it together at the hospital. He was there for every surgery, every consultation. He told him they'd get through it, that nothing had changed. Ben believed him. The first month home, Nolan helped with everything. He installed ramps and widened doorways. He drove Ben to physical therapy 3 times a week. He researched adaptive sports programs. I thought we were going to be okay. Then Nolan started working late. He missed a therapy session, then another. When Ben asked him to watch the Super Bowl together, he said he was too tired. He looked confused but didn't push. I started noticing Nolan only posted pictures of the other kids on social media. Family photos got complicated because Nolan would suggest angles that hid Ben's wheelchair. When relatives asked about Ben, Nolan would say, "He's fine," and change the subject. Ben stopped asking his dad to do things. He'd ask me instead. 2 months after the accident, I woke up at 2 a.m. and Nolan wasn't in bed. I found him in the garage, sitting in his car, crying. I asked him what was wrong. He looked at me and said, "I lost my son." I told him Ben was alive. He was here. Nolan shook his head and said, "That's not Ben. Ben ran. Ben played. That kid in there isn't the son I raised." I felt sick. I asked him if he was serious. He said he couldn't help how he felt, that every time he looked at Ben, he just saw everything that was gone, that he was mourning the life they were supposed to have. I told him to figure it out, that his son needed him. 3 weeks ago, Ben had a consultation about a new physical therapy program. Nolan was supposed to take him. I was at work when the therapist called me. She said Ben had shown up alone, that he'd gotten himself there using his wheelchair and public transportation. She said he'd been crying. I left work and went straight to the clinic. I found him in the parking lot. I asked him why he didn't tell me Dad didn't show. He looked at me and said, "Because you already know he doesn't want to be around me." I brought Ben home and went straight to Nolan. I asked him if he knew Ben had taken 2 buses to get to therapy alone. Nolan looked surprised, guilty. He started making excuses. I cut him off. I asked him directly if he wished Ben had died in that accident instead of becoming disabled. Nolan went quiet. Then he said yes. He said it would have been easier, that at least then he could have mourned and moved on instead of watching his son disappear piece by piece. I heard Ben's wheelchair. He was in the doorway, face blank. He looked at Nolan and said, "It's okay, Dad. I already knew." Nolan tried to reach for him. Ben backed away. He said, "You think I haven't noticed? You can't even look at me. Mom has to do everything because you can't stand being near me." Nolan was crying, saying that wasn't true. Ben cut him off. "Don't lie. You already buried me. I'm just a ghost in your dead son's body." That was 2 weeks ago. Ben stopped going to therapy entirely. When the therapist called to ask why, Ben told her there was no point, that his father wished he was dead instead. Nolan tried to apologize. He sat outside Ben's room begging him to listen. Ben opened the door once. He said, "You mourned the wrong son, Nolan," and closed it again. Yesterday, I told Nolan I wanted a divorce. He broke down, said he'd fix it. I asked him how. "How do you fix telling your child they'd be better off dead?" Ben's moving in with my parents next month. He's thriving in therapy with them, talking about adaptive sports again, planning for college. Nolan has supervised visitation he keeps trying to schedule. Ben refuses every time.